Ciao everybody, new video from Big Apple Pipes, and today I wanted to put some closure on this STG MacBaren deal acquisition by just giving you my 5-6 biggest takeaways from the interviews with Per and first, Leonard Wurzel after, but also from the Facebook post that Jeremy McKenna wrote on the Sutcliffe page. Before we start, as you may know, it's on every channel. If you didn't do it, if you want to subscribe, click down below so you won't lose any further update or videos from this channel. But before we start with the takeaways, I really had one last question to Leonard Wurzel that actually came out after the chat was published a couple of weeks ago, and there were many comments, a lot of views, a lot of reactions, some positive, some less positive, but there was one question that came out from the comments that seemed pretty obvious, and the question is, if, as Leonard said, Sutcliffe was a profitable business by itself and it was specialized in a very niche part of the pipe tobacco market, that is small batches. They produced very low volumes in a pretty artisanal way, and that was a production setup that was not compatible with STG, hence the decision to shut it down. So the question is, why haven't you sold it? Have you, meaning have STG considering selling Sutcliffe entirely, just splitting the company, selling Sutcliffe, maybe, keeping the most profitable blends and just leaving everything else if any buyer could be found, or if, it could be done a workers buyout. So to keep the jobs, keep the facility, the historical facility, and of course keep many of our beloved blends. Let's see. I reached out to Leonard to ask him this question. He was kind enough to give me some of his minutes, and I leave you to this little chat, which won't be 2 hours long, just like 10 minutes, and then we come back and we talk about the 5 or 6 biggest takeaways from our chat. Hello, Leonard. Thank you again for your availability for this last question that I didn't ask you during our
You didn't get enough of me in the last interview. We have another 2 hours.
We could. We easily could, because there were so many questions after our first chat. Of course, many people wanted to know more about, what about that blend? Is disappearing the other blend? And I told them, Leonard could not give me information about each blend on every single country. So maybe, hopefully, we will get some official communication from STG over the next weeks or months. But one question that was asked by several people, it was related to the Sutcliffe situation and the decision to shut it down, because as you mentioned during the chat, Sutcliffe was profitable. It didn't make sense for STG to keep it open because they had just a different market strategy, a different production setup. So the integration with I would assume, with STG systems and in general a different production approach really was not compatible with STGs. Hence the decision, and then the volumes were small. Hence the decision of shutting it down. So the question that several people had was like, okay, in the proposal that you made and the scenarios that you have considered, have you also considering splitting the companies, selling out Sutcliffe, or I don't know, workers buyout, some of those different strategies?
Certainly Jerry and I discussed trying to convince the organization to say, hey, let's just have this little small batch operation in the US to do some more boutique things. That really didn't get very far. So again, we kind of touched on it last time with you got that factory, all those SKUs. Well, now you're paying for another factory, which is a lot of money. So doing two just doesn't make sense. And then again, when we looked at all the things we talked about, the volume of this blend versus that, any kind of FDA issues, the fact that, hey, consumers are going to migrate to other blends. That was the decision. It was, when you bought the MacBaren, you were buying everything.
Hmm.
So the discussion to say, hey, maybe we should sell this to somebody else at a price certainly didn't come up in any of
Mm.
my conversations. And then it also goes back to the question of, at whatever price that would be, including with the MacBaren, who's actually willing to put up that money or has that money?
Yeah, or that's another discussion. I mean, that's
Yeah,
separate.
and it's entirely possible at different levels of leadership that there were other conversations, but I didn't hear anything about that being a possibility of saying, "Hey, we'll buy McBaren, split it up, we'll take this and not
Yeah,
that." Um, when we really did the analysis with the decisions we made, you were making more money doing what we're doing than by keeping that open. All in, you're talking about the
yeah,
expense of the factory, the profitability of the goods, and everything we've been talking about on paper, and we'll
yeah.
see if it comes to fruition. But on paper, you do better as a company by just having that one facility and doing the decisions we made.
Yeah, because I mean, my thinking was like, I mean, you could have kept from STG the few blends that you kept from Sutcliffe, and then sold the company by itself out and keep the jobs. I mean, of course, if you find a owner, or again, if there was going to be a workers buyout from the inside, and again,
Mm.
uh, those are different options. But so essentially, you don't really know if this was an option that was considered by the executives in STG.
Um, if it was considered, I didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever really part of the plan, though. No.
Okay. 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 That's pretty much it. I guess this put it to an end to our discussion. I don't think that there was anything else not uncovered, any other stone that was left uncovered about this deal. I leave you a few minutes in case there is something else you want to add. If you rewatch the interview, something that maybe you wanted to add or say in different way, it's just totally up to you.
No, I think we pretty much covered it. I'm sure everybody has a lot more questions, particularly on the Europe side. What blend's staying in this country, and what blend, and how long will it be in the country? Um, and I don't have all those answers right now because, again, that process of when things would be discontinued, a particular blend here or there, is going to take course over the course of a year, and I
Yeah.
haven't even seen the actual timeline of when all of this stuff is happening. So all I'll say is, as we get more visibility into that, we'll figure out a better way to share that with both the trade and consumers, so everybody can, you know, get the same kind of visibility we had at Sutliff for the U.S. market, and no, it will not be as drastic as what we saw at Sutliff in the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was pretty quick, and people tried to rush to get whatever they liked and wanted to keep. Okay. One last thing that now came to my mind. I think that one of the figures that most people were surprised to hear was the fact about the how big are Lane 1Q, Captain Black, Scottish mixture compared to anything else. Um, are you able to provide us some kind of figure like those three combined? How big are globally?
Globally.
Okay, on
you,
STG.
you're going to make me go through a spreadsheet during a podcast.
Again, of course, there is no interview of you without a spreadsheet. But with me, with Gray Woody, and again,
Yeah. Um, hold on. No, let me. I think I can get to this at least see what you're looking for. Hold on.
And the Lane 1Q is only sold in the United States. Am I wrong?
That's right.
Wow.
Actually,
But it's okay, even a rough idea. It's like they are, like, I don't know, 50% of sales, 70, 80, probably 90.
I mean, well, I guess let me try to explain it this way, because now it's really hard to do that. But if I were to look, let's look at the Captain Black name globally. That is reasonably easy to do. Yeah, on an individual brand basis, something like Captain Black, which is from a volume standpoint, pretty much every metric, the biggest in the world. Out of both combined portfolios today, it's really only about 8% of total global volume. But that's not a small amount. But again, we're still talking about 150 plus brands here.
Yeah,
When you get to the US, it's going to be a much higher number.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting.
But yeah, that 1Q blend in the US, and retailers will rename it when it's on their shelves a lot of time.
Oh, I see.
It's unmistakable by smell. It's a blend everybody's tried to copy over the years, and they just can't quite do it. But it is wildly popular.
Okay. Well, again, I didn't want to make this very long. It was just one question to uncover the last open point, let's say. But I want to take the chance to thank you again for your availability. Even this second time, I mean, like, demonstrate proves how available you are to come back here for just a few minutes for another questions. So thank you again, Leonard, for your availability, and to have again the time and the willingness to be here to answer questions of us pipe enthusiasts and smokers.
Absolutely, anytime.
Thank you. Maybe we can touch base in a few months to see what happened, how it is, like, the sort of day after post-mortem, how do you want to call it, sort of chat. Maybe in I don't know, 6 months. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you again.
All right, thank you.
So here we are back now. Apparently, Leonard, I mean, he had some answer, but at the end of the day, we really don't know if STG actually considered selling Sutcliffe, or if it was, as anybody interpreted it since the beginning, a monopolistic move. I don't think it is, just because Sutcliffe was, compared to STG, so big and focused so much on a very different part of the market that it's really, I don't think that Sutcliffe was really competing with STG, but probably they just preferred, as Leonard said, follow the most profitable way, and that was shutting it down. Now, we don't know if selling it could have been even more profitable. We will never know. But again, probably one of the takeaways, which was not listed, is that the real loser here is Sutcliffe, because MacBaren, we know that some blends will survive, some workers will be kept, but as for Sutcliffe, nothing will be kept except just 4 or 5 blends. Anyway, let's go with the list that I wrote it down here about the main takeaways, I think, from this couple of chats. The first one was that the writing was on the wall. And when I say this, I mean that Per told us about how the situation was after Henry Kalberg passed away. Jeremy McKenna, in his post, confirmed that when Henry Kalberg passed, he didn't have any children, and essentially the ownership was divided between 2 siblings, a brother and sister of Henrik, and a trust fund that was actually created to do good things to the community. And as those 3 stakeholders at this point, and shareholders as well, they didn't see the tobacco to be any more viable or good for the purpose of the trust fund and the future, and therefore they wanted to sell. So after Harry Kalberg passed, the writing was on the wall. It was just a matter of time before MacBaren would either shut down or be sold to somebody else. And to this point, I think Leonard is right. There was really nobody else buying it. I mean, for sure they rushed the deal, essentially to overcome allegedly this antitrust law. So we don't know if it could have been sold for a higher price. But the real question is, beyond the price itself, is who else could buy MacBaren Company? And somebody from the pipe business bought it, but in the pipe business there was only STG big enough to afford to buy MacBaren. If we consider other companies in the pipe business, nobody would be big enough. So it was either STG or a non-pipe tobacco company that could have acquired MacBaren. So we don't really know how things could have played out in a different scenario, and we don't know if it could be any better. Second takeaway is that not everything is lost. As Leonard said, maybe, possibly, they will reintroduce some of the blends in the future. And I know many people don't really believe this, and I also asked him why reintroduce them if you remove them now. And he said because we could be wrong, because things change, and that's right. But it's also true that this is what they did with Laney. They started with a very strict reorganization of the portfolio. They removed a lot of the blends, and then they gradually started re-adding some of them. So it is also possible that they start now with a very again strict move to reorganize and rearrange the portfolio, looking for efficiency and maximize the profits. And then once everything is established, the integration with MacBaren is completed, so they are a little less busy on the integration part. They have the actual time to start reintroducing something else. It's possible, so let's hope for the best for the future, especially because, again, now we know that the US market is going to be affected a lot, meaning that a lot of blends are being discontinued, but this is not happening elsewhere in the world. So if they are still producing the old dark fired in Germany, for Germany, I mean, it's also entirely possible that it will come back in the future. But this leads to my third point, because the old dark fired was introduced to the market, I think, in 2012 or 2011, 2013, around those years. And unfortunately, there is a date that is after the FDA deadline. And the third takeaway is that probably, for sure, the biggest threat to our hobby at this point is the FDA. And as Leonard said, one of the main reasons leading to the decision of cutting so many blends, especially Sutcliffe ones, is due to the fact that they are after the famous FDA deeming rule deadline. And this is also confirmed by Jeremy McKenna, that in his post said that approximately 25% of the blends in the Sutcliffe portfolio were going to be affected by FDA, and he had put 1.5 million in the budget to make sure that they could stay in the portfolio, which is a lot of money, especially for a pipe tobacco company. 1.5 million. Further to that, FDA recently released some good manufacturing practices for pipe tobacco, and again, Jeremy McKenna words, not mine, he estimated it will cost another 1 million to comply. This is for Sutcliffe. Of course, more modern facilities would comply easily, possibly. But this means that Sutcliffe, to make it comply, to keep those blends, 25% of the blends, and comply with the manufacturing process, it would be 2.5 million that you will put just in expenses to comply with FDA. And STG said that they don't want to release any new product because it will be very expensive to comply with FDA. Plus, they will not reintroduce any blend that could not be grandfathered. So probably the old dark fired, I'm contradicting myself, but will not come back because it cannot be grandfathered. So it will stay in Germany, but you can buy it from Germany. So that's the good news from the point number 2. But this point, it's really FDA and its interpretation, but also the fact that when they will start enforcing those rules in a stricter way, this will be tough not just for MacBaren or Sutcliffe, but also for other manufacturers in the market. So let's really think about it. This is really the biggest threat. My fourth takeaway is the fact that there is a big split in the pipe world, the pipe consumers world, because pipe smokers are not pipe enthusiasts. As Leonard explained, pipe enthusiasts, us people here watching this video, me making this video, people commenting this video, and people that are not watching this video but are on forums or on Facebook groups, those are pipe enthusiasts, and we are 2-3% of the total, and we buy Virginia, straight Virginias, Virginia Perique, English mixtures, Orientals, that are the least sold blends in the market. The vast majority of the people essentially consume 3 blends: Captain Black, MacBaren Scottish Mixer, Lane 1Q. As Leonard say, Lane 1Q sells 23 times more than the Peterson Early Morning. So there is a big number of smokers out there that don't really care about any of these things. They just buy one blend, that's all they smoke. Maybe they have 1-2 pipes and that's it. And they are the vast majority. So we are connoisseurs, passionate enthusiasts. We're looking for that blend, those flavors, but we're really the niche of the niche. And therefore, the threat to our business as enthusiasts is the FDA, and it's also aromatic smokers. Nothing against aromatic tobaccos or aromatic smokers, but this is also true pretty much everywhere in the world. I mean, everybody has a car, but how many people are car enthusiasts? Everybody that drinks alcohol drink wine, but not many. Not everybody is a wine enthusiast or a connoisseur. So in our numbers that are small means that we are even smaller. We're even smaller. And so this is definitely something that we should consider. The last takeaway is that China is not as big as we think. This may or may not be relevant to you, but after a few years, if you tried to sell some collectible pipe, you might have seen that there is a big interest for pipes in China. New pipe makers are coming. If you talk to any pipe maker, will tell you that their first market is China. So I thought that China was really the biggest market for pipe and pipe tobacco at this point. But apparently, according to Leonard, this is not the case. Europe, Germany and France, and United States are the 2 biggest markets, first one being USA by far for pipe tobacco. And this means that probably in China there is a big market for pipe collectors and a little less for pipe tobacco, and maybe also, I don't know, but when I lived in China 10 years ago, it was really not that easy to find pipe tobacco in the country, but I'm sure that in 10 years things changed. So these are my main 5 takeaways, and I think they're very important because, I mean, at least I will look not only at this deal, but the future of the hobby and the market of the hobby in a pretty different way. Let me know what you think. What were the things that struck or surprised you the most? And that's it. I'll see you here in a few weeks with another video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Take care and keep your pipe lit. Bye.